Turn to what is happening today. This morning, women and leaders from across the state will gather in Sacramento to talk solutions for homelessness.
They will be speaking in support of Proposition 1, a ballot measure heading to voters in March that calls for treatment, not tents. ABC 10's Bridget B. Orlow joining us live from outside of a WellSpace Health Center. So, Bridget, what's Prop 1 all about?
Well, good morning, Bria and Walt. Proposition 1, if it were to pass, will expand the state's mental health system by providing more services and resources to those who need it most. It's called treatment, not tents, for a reason, because leaders agree that living in a tent on the street is just not a humane way to live. And they say that many people who are homeless suffer from mental illness or drug and substance abuse, and they need to be off the streets and into care. So Proposition 1 aims to do just that. That's if California voters approve it on the March 5th primary ballot. You will see it. You will have the chance to move in no matter where you live in this state. So definitely educate yourself on Prop 1 and decide if this is something that you think the state needs. It will reallocate $6.5 billion roughly dollars of existing funds toward this mental health crisis and homelessness issue as numbers continue to climb. The money will fund over 11,000 new treatment beds and supportive housing, nearly 27,000 spaces for outpatient treatment, and the big one is an additional 65,000 mental health workers. Leaders say this will expand access to care for hundreds of thousands of Californians. I spoke with California's Assembly Majority Leader who told me getting this on the ballot was a bipartisan effort, but questions still remain over how to implement the changes. Take a listen.
Part of the issue, the challenge is a lot of these people don't want the services that are being offered. They don't want the shelter. How do you make them get the help they need? Is this going to be required? How do you go about that?
Well, I think the governor is going to look at it as a multi-pronged approach because not one solution works for everyone. And so we're going to have to, really get down and figure out how we're going to implement it. Of course, we want to have everybody participate, but we do know, in fact, that we're not. And the thing is, for me, is that let's get the majority of people off the streets and get them help.
But what does that mean exactly? What does that look like? Some homeless advocates are concerned that could lead to involuntary confinement, something we saw back in the 1970s when we had hospitals and asylums for the mentally ill, and they didn't really have a choice or consent to if they were going to go. So that's the concern for homeless advocates on the Republican side. Some Republicans, for example, the Assembly Minority Leader James Gallagher I spoke to last week, he said he doesn't want any funding for the homeless issues because he hasn't seen any results, meaningful results for funding. So that's the two criticisms on this issue. I will say that there's going to be $1 billion toward veteran housing, Bria, that both sides are supportive of, but it remains unclear the rollout if this were to pass on March 5th on the primary ballot.
Yeah, and Bridget, of course, we know that some members of the unhoused community struggle with substance abuse. What would this mean for them?
Yeah, exactly, Bria. That's one of the issues largely, and this will tackle that. They can get the drug and substance abuse services that they badly need. It will also incorporate housing, and this is an amendment to the law passed in 2004, the Mental Health Services Act, that did not take into account housing, did not take into account drug and substance abuse. But the Governor Gavin Newsom, and other leaders have since realized that those are all factors that need to be included if we're serious about solving the homelessness and mental health crisis statewide once and for all.
Yeah, a topic that's ongoing until we find a solution.